Hello everyone, welcome to Tech Sharmit. In this session, we are going to discuss about another very important hook of Angular's component lifecycle, that is ngDoCheck. Okay, so in this session, we will learn what is ngDoCheck, why do we use it, when it is invoked, and what are the benefits of using this particular hook or special method. Okay, prior to this session, we have already discussed many other hooks. Like separately we discussed about the constructor, then we discussed about ngInit, right? Likewise we are continuing this process and we are learning about ngDoCheck. Okay, so by the end of this session you will be able to understand what is ngDoCheck hook of Angular component lifecycle and what are the benefits of using it. Okay, so to explain the things in a simpler way, what I will do, I will use the same analogy that we used in last couple of session, where we discussed about the student and teacher scenario, right? Where student and teacher components were there and we tried to perform some operations on it, right? So similar process we are going to do here, and I'll explain everything from a scratch. Okay, fine. But before we start further, I just want to recommend you to please go and check out the previously released sessions first, because they all are in proper sequence and sync. So if you follow them sequentially, then it would be much more easier for you to understand the ongoing topic, because for time being we are just mainly focusing on how to use ngDoCheck. Okay, so let's get started. Here you can see we have just a normal project which we created earlier, right? Which contains one component with the name app. So for timing you can consider this as a teacher component, because the new component which we are going to create will be created with the name of student. Okay, but default one I don't want to change, that's why I keep it as app only. Okay, so this is the parent component. Now what we will do, we will create our child component, and in that component we will try to understand the concept of ngDoCheck. But prior to that, we should know at least definition of this function, like what exactly it is. So if someone asks you what is ngDoCheck, so you can simply say that it is a lifecycle hook in Angular that is called every time the change detection runs. Okay, so we all know that Angular run the change detection every time, right? So whenever the change detection runs, it will check. Okay, it will be called like ngDoCheck will be invoked and letting you check for and respond to the changes that Angular doesn't catch on its own. So in short, you can say that for every change detection time, at the time of every change detection, this function will be invoked, and it will let you know, it will provide you a functionality to check or to respond to any of the changes by your own. Okay, clear? So if I explain it in a simpler term, so you can say that ngDoCheck is used in Angular to manually detect and act on the changes in your component that Angular might miss. Okay, so now you have the idea, right, why it is so important, because it is providing us a way to respond and react on the changes that might be missed by Angular. Okay, so let's see how it will be implemented, because practical things would be more interesting, right? So what we will do, we will create one component. So here you can click on new terminal. Here we will create the component with name login. So for that I will write here ngGC, and component name would be not login. We can create it with student name. Okay, so student. Perfect. Just hit enter. It will take few seconds, and now you can see 4 files has been added, and this is the component. Now what we will do, we will connect this component with the parent component. So let's go to app.component.ts file, not app, student.component.ts file. Okay, so this is the file, and in this file just simply copy this selector, and also remember this name, which is student component. Now go to app.component.ts file. Here we will register it. So we will write here login, not login, this time we are using student. So student component, and you can see this is also imported. Perfect. Now simply go to app.component.html. Here we will attach this as a tag. So this is ready. Now to verify the things, let's go and let me save it first. Now what we will do, we will simply try to run this application and see like if it is working fine or not. So I will write here ng serve -- open, enter. So it will take few seconds and then it will open the browser. So you can see browser has been opened and we can see student works is coming properly. That means this app is connected with the child component. Now it's time to learn about the ngDoCheck. Okay, so for that what we will do, I'll explain you in the same analogy that we used in last session, because that is the easy and the real world example, so it would be easy for you to understand it. So let's go to app student.component.ts file. Here we will define all the required things like constructor, ngOnInit and ngDoCheck. Constructor onInit are already discussed, so I'll not take much time on it. I'll just quickly create it. So constructor, here I'll put console.log and here we will mention the message student has entered the classroom, okay, and unpacked their bags. Okay, so this is the first message which will be populated on a screen whenever the constructor is invoked. Second thing we will print here is the message. So suppose we are receiving some value and we will be receiving it. Okay, so let me run it. Constructor subject comma, not here, this dot subject. Now we know that to accept this value we should go here in app.component.ts and not here HTML. Here we will send one value. So I'll write to subject. Okay, here we will write double quote, single quote and the name of subject, for example science. Okay, so this is the thing which we want to send from here. Perfect. Now let's go. Let me close this application from here, otherwise it will show error again and again because we are typing right now, right? So let's go to app.component.ts. here we will mention it subject. Okay, and we all know that to get this value, like it should be received here, right? To receive this we will use input decorator. So I will write here input opening closing parenthesis, then the name of the variable which is subject and its type is string. Okay, and after string we will mention its default value, not here, yeah, we can set default value. Perfect. Okay, so subject variable is ready. Okay, let me correct it. Okay, so fine. Now you can see it is not imported here, so it's time to import this, otherwise it will not allow you to use it. And remember one thing, sometime it automatically edit, sometime we need to edit, but yeah, make sure that it is added. Fine. Now this thing is ready. Now what we will do, we will add another variable, let's say old subject. Okay, so what it will do, it will just store the actual subject name which is shared by the parent component. Okay, so we will use it for that purpose only. Clear? Fine. So we have declared it, constructor work is done. Let me write it all the things and then we'll show you the changes and the purpose. So let me copy it and here we will not like this, simply copy it and we will add here ngOnInit, ngOnInit. Okay, and here we will mention teacher gave instruction. Let me remove it from here and here we will write teacher gave instructions students start learning. Okay, so this is the thing that we have added, and here we will write ngOnInit instead of cursor constructor, ngOnInit. Okay, So these are the two things that we have already discussed in last session, constructor and ngOnInit. So far we know about it, right? Now what we will do, like the constructor will be invoked whenever the component is created, okay, in the initial stage. So at that time constructor is not able to access this value, we know that, right? So it will just show that student has entered the class and unpacked their bag. So this is the initial phase, and at this moment if you try to print the subject, it will print blank because constructor don't have authority to access the input feed. But in case of ngOnInit, teacher gave instructions, student start learning. At that moment, after and when ngOnInit will be invoked, when the component is created fully and input, and it has the capability to access the input value, so it will be able to print this dot subject. Fine. So far, like, these things are already clear to us because we have discussed it in previous session. Now we will introduce the ngDoCheck. So in case of ngDoCheck, what we will do, we will check here if this dot subject, and one more thing here, what we will do, we will store it in the old subject. Okay, so this dot old subject equals to subject. Okay, so this thing we have added. So what it will do, it will just hold it. So here we will check if this dot subject does not equal this dot old subject, then in that case what we will do, we will print one message. Okay, we will print console.log, and here we will mention that subject is changed from science to maths, because we are going to change it to maths. How? I'll show you. Okay, but it will just check it and it will just print this message, and after that what we can do, we can simply update the old okay, so here we can write old subject equal this dot subject, because now the subject is changed, so we are just updating it. Okay, fine. Now this part is clear. We all know that every time the change detection occur, ngDoCheck will check for custom changes. So here we are just checking, like ngDoCheck will be invoked because changes occurred. Now here what we will do, we will check if subject is changed, if subject name is not same as old subject name, then that means subject is changed, because from app.component.html file we are sending the subject name as science. But if it is changed, so in that case it will just print this message, subject is changed from science to maths. Okay, and then we are assigning the new subject name to old subject name, so that next time it will work properly. Clear? Fine. Now the question comes, how we will change the subject name, because so far we have not changed the subject name. So for that what we will do, we will add another function here, say change subject opening closing parenthesis, and here we will mention this dot old subject equal this dot subject. Okay, not like this. We should mention here this dot subject equal maths. Okay, and how this function will be run? Through button. We all know that, right? So let's go student.component.html file. Here we will create one button, so I have added it, and in this button we will write change subject. This is description, and we will bind it with the function that we have created. So I'll add click button, change subject. Okay, perfect. So now our code is ready. Let me show you the output first, and then I'll again walk you to explain it in a very simple way. Okay, so let's run the application. ngserve -- open and enter. It will take few seconds, then we'll run the application. Okay, so here you can see we have got this thing. Now if I check the inspect thing, you will find that on console we have got some messages. What all messages? First message is student has entered the classroom and unpacked their bag. So from where it is coming? It is coming from constructor, and that's why we are using again constructor and ngOnInit, because I want to show you how the sequence, like how the functions are invoked. Okay, so here you can see in student.component.ts file that firstly it is running the constructor. Student has entered the classroom and unpacked their bag. At this time, when we are printing the subject name, it is showing nothing. Why? Because constructor don't have capability to read the input values, because by that time it is not initialized, right? Then second thing is, third message is coming from teacher gave instructions, student start learning. This is coming from ngOnInit, because teacher gave instructions, student start learning. And at that and this is moment of the cycle, subject name is cleared. So subject is ngOnInit, subject is science, because it has received the value sent by parent component, or you can say teacher component, into input field. So that's why we are getting the value as science. But the question comes like, ngDoCheck is not worked. We have not received any message. Why? Because so far we have not clicked on this button. So when you click on this button, the change will occur, ngDoCheck will be invoked, and then it will process the thing. So when we click this button, now you can see I have taken it already in debug mode. So you can see ngDoCheck is coming on this line. Here it will check. So you can see this dot subject name is changed to maths. This dot old subject name is science. There is a there is a mismatch, right? So for this mismatch, it will print this message: subject is changed from science to math. So if I take F10 means if I go to next part, you will see it printed the math message, assign the new value. So now this new value which is maths is assigned to old subject, so that it will next time perfectly. F10, let me complete it. So now if you check the console, you will find that yes, at this stage subject is changed from science to maths. Clear? So now I think now the process is clear, like how these all things are working. Let me explain it again while looking at the code, by showing you the code in a simple way. First thing would be invoked is constructor. Although I can show you the direct impact of this thing, there is no need to include constructor and all. But if you learn all these functions together, then it would be very easy for you to understand the flow, because through this only we can find out that yes, constructor is the first thing that is invoked, then ngOnInit is the second method that is invoked, and then we have ngDoCheck. Okay, so in case of ngDoCheck, although like there is one more function that comes first, but once we are done with all method, then I'll show you the exact sequence. But if we are talking about these three function, then this will be the only flow. Okay, so we were talking about ngDoCheck. So why do we need ngDoCheck? Because every time Angular runs the change detection method, at that time this ngDoCheck will be invoked, and it will provide us a way to track any changes which we want to change, which we want to track, and then react on that changes accordingly. So here we want to track if subject name is changed or not. If it is changed, so we are just printing the message subject is changed from science to math. Clear? So I hope this entire session is clear to all of you. If you have any doubt or any suggestion for this session, please share in the comment section so that we can work accordingly. And for today, yeah, these are the all things that I wanted to share with you all. So see you in the next session. Thank you for watching Tech Sharmit.